What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Cameron Selby, and we're going to be breaking down the Week 3 showdown slate between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Yes, we have another divisional showdown on a short week. It feels like Miami and Buffalo have been playing on Thursday nights at some point for like the last few years now. I feel like we've been playing a lot of these showdowns. Last year, there was a blowout. That was the Tua concussion game, if I remember correctly. This year, biggest spread on the weekend, I think it's 11.5, but a 50-point total, implying 30 points going to the Buffalo Bills, while Miami scoring about 19. Miami was blown out week 1 by Indy, rebounded a little bit against the Patriots this past week, but still gave up a lot of points once again. So I expect at the very least Buffalo will have their way offensively, but Miami, the telltale sign is, are they going to keep it close to where their skill players can contribute, or will this be another blowout that we've seen in week 1 where just everything is bad and this is the catalyst for a potential Mike McDaniel move that we've been on for some time? So I'd say let's just get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump right into the showdown. All right, let's kick it off by starting about the Miami Dolphins, and we're going to bring up the pass catchers. Going to change over to the flex. And we will say, I know HN is a running back. We usually do this separately, but he is their wide receiver 1 right now, the most reliable guy they have. So I'm going to include him because he's just leading the team in targets and doing what he can and will be. But yeah, it's not a ton for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Darren Waller has not even practiced, played, done anything, and he's a Q tag. I wouldn't anticipate on a short week on the road he would be making his debut. So I would just chalk that as a miss. Julian Hill has been getting the most snaps at tight end, but he has had no targets through 2 weeks. So I don't know what to do about that. Tanner Connor got a target or two. Week 1 didn't really do anything the following week, but he's cheap as well. But you got Nick Westbrook-Akine. And then last but not least, Malik Washington, who's been a kind of pretty solid start to his season. He's the guy that went on that punt return touchdown right before New England answered back with their kick return touchdown. That's why you see a 9.5 there. But the biggest deal with him is that he was a 6th-round pick last year that was very impressive, but just couldn't really get on the field. But now he's kind of a mainstay in that offense. I mean, 58% of the snaps in week 1, followed that up with 61% in week 2, with 5 opportunities in week 2, 3 of them being rushing attempts, actually. And then obviously the touchdown for the punt return. So dual threat guy. I know it says 4,800, but he is 36. That is the captain slot. Didn't really have enough spaces for him to make do. But with that said, that's kind of really the main guys for Miami, and I don't even know if I can play all of them. I mean, it's really pricey, hard to get up to some of the main guys, especially with the 2 big horses of Buffalo. And then if you're pairing Devon Achane, who has been the steadiest guy in this offense, obviously, even in a blowout, he still salvaged with 16.5 with a receiving touchdown towards the end. 2, going for 26, very, very strong performance, and he almost had a second touchdown, but he did step out of bounds on that final drive. Would have taken the lead for the Patriots with the second receiving touchdown of the game, put over a 100-yard bonus, all of that, and it was nullified because he stepped out of bounds. So he could have been upwards of 40 points for a week 2 performance. And so week 3, I mean, last year, if I remember correctly, against Buffalo, he had a really strong, wide receiver 1S performance, having about 90 yards in a blowout game, and he kind of helped salvage. But really, after that, once Tua went down, obviously, we saw what happened. But regardless, that's just the guys. Jalen Waddle, really, really interesting and tough to get to. Same with Tyreek Hill a little bit as well. 88, 98. It just kind of makes things not really work a ton doing these builds. I mean, a lot of people, because of the 11-point spread, are going to be trying to do Buffalo-heavy builds. So I guess the Contrarian effort is saying that they at least keep it competitive enough to where a lot of these guys can salvage. Because, I mean, Tyreek Hill finally hit his one-year-long streak of not a 30-yard reception, had 100 yards this past game on only 7 targets. The biggest concern, he's just not getting the targets like he used to. And then Jalen Waddle catching the touchdown, 5 for 68 in the score, rebounded after a rough week 1 performance, and he was also banged up as well. So really, I mean, I can take out these guys. Malik Washington's an honorable mention, but it's these 3 guys. If you can fit 2, cool. But is it really worth it? That's really what you got to tell yourself when you're doing this game script, is how well and will Miami keep it close, because Buffalo, week 1, could not stop anything with Baltimore, whether that was giving up 170 yards, a career high to Zay Flowers, or if it was giving up 180 plus to Derrick Henry and a couple of scores, Lamar going for 30 fantasy points. So they couldn't stop anything. Is that bad defense, or is that Baltimore just being that good? Because the following week, the Jets, who were on the lowest total game the entire week 1 slate, end up putting up 34, one of the highest totals. Justin Fields went off, Breece Hall went off, Garrett Wilson went off, and then Buffalo just walloped them this past week. And it wasn't close from the jump. They ended up blowing them out, and Justin Fields was a chalky bust. Breece Hall was a chalky bust, and Garrett Wilson I don't think was as chalky, but again, he didn't work out. I know that for a couple of my fantasy teams, putting him in the flex did not get the job done. So with that said, what Buffalo defense is going to show up? They are 5,800, so it's going to be a tall price to pay. I understand the blowout and the price increase because of that, but Ed Oliver, I would anticipate still being out. He was the MVP of the week 1 performance, but then they got way better in week 2 without him. I have no idea what to do with this defense, but an uncomfortable way of thinking about this script, because this could be one of those things where I remember a Christmas game last year where I think it was Green Bay that was blowing out Miami, but Miami stayed in the game, and then Jonnu Smith kept getting peppered with targets. Tyreek Hill ended up catching a touchdown, so they salvaged. Tua got the 100 or 300-yard bonus. Jonnu Smith goes for it, and I went from like a 25x line down to like doubling my money because of all the Miami chalk that salvaged because they were within 2 scores. So if it's that kind of game environment, I can see a couple of these guys paying off, especially because Buffalo, even though they're implied for 31 points, that's 4 touchdowns. I can't really trust somebody strongly that any of these guys, all of these guys can really end up scoring those touchdowns. This could be a Dawson Knox week. This could be a Dalton Kincaid week. He's been kind of steady in his year 3 start to his season. I'm going to just go ahead and click off some of the names for Buffalo. But yeah, you got Josh Palmer. You got Elijah Moore, who's actually had some snaps so far. Dawson Knox, honorable mention. I'm not going to click on his name. But looking at the snap counts, it's pretty spread out. I mean, again, take week 2 with a grain of salt because there was a lot of blowouts, but everybody was 51% or less of the 5 receivers that played. Keon Coleman with 51, Palmer with 51, Khalil with 49, Elijah Moore with 40, Tyrell Shavers with 33. Obviously, much of that was in garbage time. But then Dalton Kincaid with about 50% for 2 straight weeks. Dawson Knox about 55%. All these guys play. They split targets, and it's very, very frustrating to watch at times. The biggest thing, which I don't even have his name clicked, but James Cook has absolutely gone bananas. He was a guy that we faded throughout basketball season because of the somewhat holdout. We didn't know because of he's only getting 15 touches a game, but he has 20 touchdowns. That doesn't feel like something sustainable. Well, he's got 3 through 2 weeks. Could have had 4, got tackled at the 1 on a long reception. Being for 10-6, one of the top running backs so far this year, over 20 points both games. Like I said, 3 touchdowns, 58 receiving yards 1 week. I mean, he's a threat everywhere he goes. He usually doesn't have those every week 21 carry, 22 opportunity games, but it was a positive game script for him. I was actually surprised he had that many carries and touches in a blowout game, but he's what made it work. He had highlight play after highlight play and had a big performance. So really made you some money if you invested in him this past week. And it's funny because Josh Allen, after his big 42-point game and a comeback win against Baltimore, he was a chalky quarterback this past week, and they dropped 30, and he's not involved on a single touchdown. Don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, it was funny because we talked about 5 quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen being the dominant ones, and then the 3 puke stacks of a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, and then even minimum price Mac Jones. All 3 of those guys panned out. Josh Allen absolutely busted. He broke his nose, but also just was not involved on touchdowns. He just didn't score. That was the biggest problem. And then also with Joe Burrow obviously going down in the, early second quarter. So obviously that didn't work out either. But regardless, Josh Allen right now is a goblin on PrizePicks to throw for 2 touchdowns. He's a goblin on PrizePicks to rush for a touchdown. So they're implying he's going to be having 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. That is going to be a floor probably of 26, 27 points. And if that is the case, you got to put this guy in your lineup. I know, kind of spoiling a little bit who I will be going with my must play. I just don't see a scenario again at home, 11-point favorite, implied to score 4 touchdowns. That once again, he's not going to be involved, not going to hit any bonuses, not going to score at all, and find a way to be at the 11, 12-point mark once again for the second consecutive week, especially against the Miami defense, who gave up three total touchdowns to Drake May. The week before, Daniel Jones rushing for 2 touchdowns, throwing for another, and being the millionaire maker quarterback. Like, Miami is somebody we're going to be targeting all season long. They're going to be somebody we're targeting all season long. If that is the case, like QB1 overall, guy who could be leading the league in rushing touchdowns. Shout out to Emery's bold prediction. I mean, that's just somebody that you got to click on. The problem is it's wishful thinking to assume that you know who is going to be catching these passes. Keon Coleman had a big salvage game. He had 1 catch going into that fourth quarter. Then he went off, caught a ricochet touchdown. Following week, 3 targets. I know he only had 51% of the snaps, but still, Khalil Shakir, he's always been a bit between the 20s merchant, but 12.4 was a solid start to the season. But obviously, 2.2 wasn't going to get the job done. 2 targets. Josh Palmer, the guy I just mentioned, coming in. I mean, he's also pretty solid. I just don't know. Every single week, it's going to be somebody catching 3 passes, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Your guess is as good as mine who's going to do it. So everybody's going to be a tournament play. I think the ownership should be spread out within all of them. All of them are below 7K, and even including the tight ends. Dalton Kincaid, frustrating because he shares snaps with Dawson Knox. But back-to-back weeks, he's averaging 5 targets a game, caught 4 passes in each game. So, I mean, if there's a little bit of more consistency, he might be the preference from week to week from a price point perspective. But it just kind of depends, because if he goes for a 100-yard game, the following week he might be priced up to the point where it's just like, I can't really touch him. So every week it's going to be frustrating to do double stacks with Buffalo on main slates. But in showdowns, if you play Josh, you kind of got to play 1 or 2 of his pass catchers to make things work, because that's very rare that you're just going to have Josh Allen and then no other build pass catchers that are going to work out for you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to go through our must plays, fades, contrarian plays, picks, and game scripts and stuff like that. Again, this is the first week we're doing this without Emery. He's officially on baby watch with his wife, Taylor. Congratulations and shout out to those guys. But for the time being, I'm going to be rocking and rolling with you guys through these slates. So he is going to be doing his picks and stuff. I'm just going to be talking on his behalf of how he views this game and anticipates it and stuff like that. So must plays. Like I said, I alluded to him earlier, Josh Allen. You're implying 3 touchdowns total, including 1 on the ground. That's 25 plus points. You can't fade him. The concern or question with him just comes down to, are you going to play him at captain? Because he will be the highest owned captain as well. Will it be worth it? I mean, because he's got the 40-point upside. I hope he doesn't start having an 11, 12-point floor. That was a complete outlier game where they scored 30 points and he's just not involved on one. That's very, very rare. And I'm not going to assume he'll be there. I would anticipate he would be somewhere around 28 to 30 points in this game. And if that doesn't happen, then he could still work getting you 20. And with that said, as long as it's just not every Miami pass catcher just salvaging to where 2 of those for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards, Tyreek goes for 100, Devon Achane goes for the bonus and a score or 2, Jalen Waddle scores as well. That's really the only thing that's going to push him out. So really think you should really have him in your lineups. Exposure-wise, not saying he's the must-play captain, but you can really make things work if you do so, and it makes you feel confident because of the typical floor that we'll see from him. Emery, on his side, he's really into the kickers. I mean, kickers have been dominating the showdown slates. If you saw last night, double kicker was, I think, in the optimal line. We've seen captain kickers, Dusty, fellow GTD member, week 1, double kicker with 1 at captain. He ended up going like 150x on his first slate of the year. So double kicker is really hitting it. And if both kickers are this cheap, Matt Prater, Buffalo's going to score a ton. If Miami can stop them, but he gets 3 to 4 extra points, a couple field goals in there, like that's really going to make things work. So that is his must play. Fades wise, I'm going to say my fade is Tua Tagovailoa. The problem with him has always been just he has no rushing upside, and he has to throw for the 300-yard bonus or the touchdowns. And recently, he just has not been getting the job done in that regard. He started out the year really bad with eight points. Like I said, he doesn't run the ball. He's had 1 total rushing attempt in the first 2 games combined. And everybody kind of winces because of the concussion history when he does take off, because you don't really know and trust that he can protect himself. But he had 1 touchdown, 2 picks in week 1, didn't have a good game at all. He also lost a fumble. But then the following week against New England in a back and forth affair, much, much better production and play, got to the 300-yard bonus, scored those 2 touchdowns. If that is the case and the outcome that you expect from him against Buffalo, I mean, he's in play to have the 20-plus points at only $9,400. The problem is you have to stack him because he's not going to get this by himself, and that's going to include spinning up to a 10-8 Devon Achane, nearly 10,000 Tyreek Hill, an $8,800 Jalen Waddle. It's really hard to fit multiple of those guys in your line and also afford Josh Allen unless you're going to really, really cheap captain. So I don't really like the lineup construction with him, and I'm just going to anticipate it won't be enough to salvage and put him in the optimal line. Emery does say that Tua would have been his fade had I not claimed him first, but he's going to correlate that with Tyreek Hill being the tough one as the fade. Is again a price point thing, 9,800. It's just you feel a lot more comfortable if you're investing in a Devon Achane. Jalen Waddle being 8,800, 1,000 cheaper. He's the one that scored the touchdown. So it's really tough to get to both either. The Tyreek Hill one is scary because he is capable of taking it to the house anywhere on the field. And if that happens, you might be screwed if you don't play him. But with that said, if he's going to pull some ownership, I would anticipate he's probably going to be the second or third highest owned Dolphin. Then he might be a guy to just kind of get different from, especially if you play multiple lines. Tournament plays. Mine is going to be a very interesting one, but it is Ray Davis, guy that has yet to have a breakout game so far this year. Didn't really play at all when in week 1 when they were playing comeback against Baltimore. Only played 12% of the snaps. That was actually 4th on the team behind their fullback. But then the following week when they are playing in a positive game script for him, from a blowout perspective, he had the second most on the team. So he outsnapped by 1 Ty Johnson. And so with that said, he also had more carries, more touches. He had 9 opportunities, only had 24 rushing yards, no receptions. But at the same time, $2,600, I think is a very unique way to get different. A lot of people are going to be playing James Cook because of his strong performance to start the season. I think it might be a good idea, especially if you do think it could be a potential blowout for the Buffalo side to be double stacking the running back room. I don't think usually people take advantage of that enough in good positive game scripts. And in running back rooms when, I mean, it's not like James Cook has been a target or dominant snap hog. He had 56% of the snaps in week 1, 47 in week 2. He's always flirted with 55 to 60% on good games. And I would anticipate Ray Davis playing about 1/4 of the snaps. And if it is a blowout, I think he's the first guy to get the look. So as long as they're not playing catch up, that's really Ty Johnson's role as the pass catching 2-minute warning back. I think Ray Davis might be an interesting name. Could fall into the end zone similar to what Rachaad White did as a game-winning touchdown last night against the Houston Texans. With Emery's tournament play, he's going to go with the Buffalo defense. I think the price point, and because they are a team already that has already given up 40 points this season, it's a little bit of a hesitation to maybe spend that much when you could be going down to multiple pass catchers, kickers who have been, like we said, killing it on Showdown slate so far. So 5,800 is a very interesting, it's a unique price point, especially we haven't seen a defense that high this season so far on a Showdown slate. So I understand his play. Wouldn't be surprising if Buffalo just finds a way to get multiple turnovers because Tua has not protected the football this far. He's had 4 turnovers through 2 games. So if that is the case, they can create some turnovers, create some sacks on an offensive line that is already down 2 starters to IR on a short week as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot as long as they can get to the quarterback, create stats. This past week against the Jets, ended up scoring 10 points, 4 sacks. The previous week obviously had 0 because they gave up 40 points. So it's just one of those things. If they keep the score down and they do create some turnovers, 10 points, I don't know if it'll get you there, but they could score more than that based on the implied total and blowout potential based on the high spread. And then game script. I have Buffalo winning 34-17. Since Josh Allen took over for the Buffalo Bills back in 2018, Buffalo has just dominated Miami. He has a 13-2 career record, including the playoffs against Miami. I expect more of the same on a short week. I mean, Miami offensively, they got back on track, but they're in a ton of bad spots. Like we said, down multiple starters. Now apparently they can't stop running backs. They've allowed over 184 yards through 2 weeks to the position, but then also have given up 3 rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. And those quarterbacks are Daniel Jones and Drake May. So if they can do it, Josh Allen certainly can. Cook has Cook has had a strong start, and like I said, because of the depth at the position, I just think Buffalo is going to be able to move the ball at will, and it's just whether or not they get complacent is really what it comes down to, and if they can keep Miami from salvaging, or is this one that they keep them within 10 to 14, and Miami just plays catch up the entire second half, 2-minute drill, and then multiple guys can get there because of that result. But 34-17, enough of a blowout to where I think that you don't have to go the 3-3 balance build. And so that's my interesting thing for the Buffalo Bills. Emory has something similar. 34-13 is his score. So same total for the Buffalo, and optimistically less points allowed to the Miami Dolphins. Essentially, he said that Buffalo is going to dominate. I think it's similar to what the Jets put up against the Buffalo this past Sunday. And Josh Allen's going to be 100%. He really believes in Matt Prater as a must play. He will be 100% from him also. And then just mixing and matching receivers, trying to get overweight in good leverage spots. I'll have to take a look at the ownership and see how people are really reacting, because they're all kind of affordable. And nobody's really had the dominant game other than Keon Coleman, who is coming off of a dud week. And on top of that, I think a lot of smart DFS players know and realize that he only had most of that in the fourth quarter coming from behind. So playing from ahead, we saw what happened with that, and him being the highest price, maybe people were getting away from him. So with that said, just blow out more of the same, and just kind of a very interesting way to go. But now we're back on the DraftKings slate, so let's go ahead and start building some lines. With this kind of thing taking place, I'm going to start off taking one of Emery's approaches to his build, because he has a couple of interesting ones. So first is a dominant captain. So he's going to go ahead and just mix and match. It's very interesting the way he's going with this. So starting with the captain, top of the field, Josh Allen. He's going to go ahead and bring back with Devon Achane up top. And then he's going to invest in Keon Coleman. He's going to go down to Josh Palmer for a secondary stack. And then he's going to make the last two fit work. So he's going Malik Washington as one. And then the last guy in, obviously, one of his tournament plays is the Buffalo Bills. So this is, I might be cashy. It might be a little cashy. It's zero remainder, the highest priced captain, probably the most popular Dolphin as well. Double stacking receivers, it makes it work. And then Malik Washington, probably one of the better flex options because he's had 5 opportunities a game. Reasonable price at only $3,200. That Q tag I don't think is really anything unless I missed something, but I think he just kind of was limited over a short week of practice. So that is one of his first looks. And then going with his second look, a little bit of a contrarian, he got really, really naughty on this one. So he actually went Prater all the way at captain. Kicker captain has worked out for us so far this year, so he want more of the same right there. And then he went ahead and went with Josh Allen once again. Oh, got to get off the captain. Josh Allen once again at flex. This time, Achane went Keon Coleman, and then he finished it up by finding a way to get to Khalil Shakir. And then once again, putting in Buffalo's defense, that's just kind of something that's going to make it work. I really wonder, because of the high price, if people will stay away from the Buffalo defense, or if they're just naturally going to fall in to opportunities and stuff like that. My approach might be kind of interesting. This feels like a good 3-max kind of contest. So I might go 1 to maybe 2 lines with Josh, depending on what you can make at captain, and then fill out the rest. With this one, I'm actually going to do a different approach because he has not put in this guy's name yet. But Dalton Kincaid at captain. Very interesting, very frisky, very risky. 5,400 though is pretty reasonable, but that finds a way to afford, once again, Josh Allen, Devon Achane. This is going to be not necessarily Kincaid, but Josh Allen, Achane, 90%. I would anticipate 80 to 90%. One possibly also being a captain as well. That's just going to be how everybody does their lines in this one. But I want to try to find a way to fit in James Cook as well. So I'm going to get a little interesting with that. I'm going to go down to Malik Washington with this look as well. And then that's enough for whatever you want to prefer. So say Buffalo stops them, bend don't break, but it stays close enough to where they are kicking field goals. That is a pretty cheap price for a kicker at 4,400. Usually they're 48 to 5,400. But Josh Palmer probably would be my last guy in this line to fill out a double, but really triple stack. But you get 4-2 build, 3 important options for Buffalo. But I also want to do another lineup with my own look, Josh Allen at the captain slot. Like I said, he will be 100% owned in my lines, but the main thing is just whether or not you can build around him in comfortable spots. So once again, going to put in Devon Achane. And then let's get interesting. This time I want to put in Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to go ahead and say Keon Coleman. I think I trust him a little bit more in terms of touchdown equity compared to Khalil Shakir. That leaves about 4,200 each, but I'm going to put in my tournament play, Ray Davis. So I'm going to go with him and say that James Cook stays out of the end zone, but Ray Davis is enough to get you there. And then that's enough for, honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea. Like, leaving salary on the table on a high scoring slate is very, very doable and reasonable, but 5,800 is a lot. And I think in this specific build, a lot of people are just probably going to just click on that to get the zero remainder. But I wouldn't necessarily guarantee that the Buffalo is just confidently going to outscore Matt Prater. I don't know if I necessarily consider Prater a lock like Emery might in terms of his must plays, but very reasonable. 800 on the table with a, very expensive, very popular captain. I think is a way to get different. You double stack. This is a 5-1 build, so I am anticipating the blowout with only Devon Achane being able to salvage. But yeah, that's just kind of one thing interesting. And then last look, let's just kind of get a little interesting. Let's pretend that Miami does salvage and they keep it within 10 to 14. They want to keep things close. So let's see if we can find a way to fit in both quarterbacks. It might come out at the expense of fading Devon Achane, but let's just kind of see what we can work. I'm going to go ahead and put in a pass catcher at captain. Very volatile, but again, risky business sometimes is the way to go, in my opinion. So let's say Keon Coleman, touchdown equity. Let's say he goes 4 for 68 in the score. Maybe that's enough for 10-2 total salary for a captain slot. And then let's go all the way down to, let's go Malik Washington. I mean, I like the fact that he's gotten balanced 5 opportunities a game. Again, I don't trust him to play. And really, it's been a 3 to 4 man show in terms of pass catchers for that group. And then last couple guys in. So Tua, you got to pair him with somebody. Is that Tyreek? That's 5,000. That's right enough for Matt Prater. So if you like that, cool. Like I'm not against that whatsoever. Let's find another unique way. I mean, yeah, I mean that's really kind of the one way to go about it is finding a way to do Tyreek. I don't know if you can really get to a line that has Josh Allen, Tua, and then 2 of these top 3. I mean, let's try to give it a shot. So we'll go Achane. Let's say Jalen Waddle to save some salary, but it's got to have to be a mid-price captain. So whatever direction you go, it's got to be something around that route. And look at that. I mean, even a mid-tier captain making all these guys fit, you only have 500 remainder. It is worth noting Alex Engel had 27% of the snaps week 1, 35% week 2. And then if I remember correctly, he had 2 targets. 2 targets, 2 receptions in week 2, week 1, 1 for 1.1. Usually I don't like doing minimum price guys with cheap captains. I usually don't think that's a great strategy. But like I said, it's really tough to get to. And even if you don't believe in Jalen Waddle, try to get to Tyreek Hill, including Josh Allen in there. It's almost impossible, if I'm being honest with you. Let's try his captain, save a little bit more salary. That's enough for D. Eskridge. Sure, he's had 3 targets, 2 games. I don't know. Once again, Tanner Connor didn't have a single stat this past game. 4 targets the first game. That could probably work for $800 getting 4 points. But again, I don't really love doing that with mid-price captains. So it's just really, really tough to build Dolphins lines. But at the same time, if you do believe it will stay close, I think that is a very unique way to get different on this slate. But with that said, that's all I got for you guys on the Showdown slate. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We are on the road to 300 subs. So if you can and you like the content and you want to keep on joining the community, joining discussions on the weekly, we do Showdown breakdowns. We do the first look for the main, and then we live stream every Sunday. I'm going to need more support. We're going to need more comments and questions and concerns on the Sundays, since I'll be doing this solo for the time being until Emery does return, whenever that may be. But in the meantime, he'll be here in spirit. He's going to be probably commenting on videos and maybe be in the chat on some as well. So, you'll be hearing from him as well. Dusty he's going to be doing a great job. He's been killing it. I am telling you, he's been killing it in the college football ranks, and his picks and his super dogs, picking guys outright. It's been awesome to see from his perspective. But in terms of this slate, I don't usually love blowout slates, but at the same time, this is fun ways to make games that are not really competitive mean something for you. One of my most profitable slates last year was, I mean, I say this time and time again, but it was the Jets Patriots. It was a blowout game. It was 24-3. I remember exactly. And I faded 98% Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre fumbled on his first carry, did not get put back in the game. Everybody had him. I did not. And I ended up taking down with like 200x. I only played for like $10 because I wasn't very confident. But sometimes that's just what ends up happening. Just because you're not confident in a slate doesn't mean something can't work out or prosper. Confidence rankings on slates, football's random. I can tell you how to build my gut feeling on stuff. I'm wrong all the time, and other people are as well. And that's why low owned guys are in the optimal lines on millionaire contests all the time. But yeah, it's been a whole lot of fun through 2 weeks, and we're going to keep on going strong. I hope you guys stay in the Discord, be putting out props and picks, prize picks, underdog, be doing a whole lot of stuff. By the way, props of the week, I did forget to mention that. Props of the night for me, I'm going to say Dalton Kincaid over 29.5 receiving yards. He's 2 for 2 this week, or he's 2 for 2 this year so far. And I just expect him to get to that 30-yard mark before it gets too out of competitiveness. Very obviously, with his must-play captain, Matt Prater over a field goal and a half is the way that he's going. I also have him scoring 2 field goals, so that is a very solid prop. There's a free square this week with Patrick Mahomes, I believe, on PrizePicks. Underdog is doing 7 days of discounts every week, so be in store for that. Like I said, can't thank you guys enough. Thank you for joining us. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you have not already, and we will see you on the next one.